Welcome once again. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, for joining us today. I'm excited about this conversation. I actually love having this conversation because most times this conversation leads to future coaches being really interested in finding out more about coach training. And so I'm excited to have this conversation with you today. What am I talking about today? We are going to spend a little bit of time together. We'll be together for about just a little under an hour talking about coach certification. So certification and credentialing. Ready to become a certified coach is the name of this course, an overview of the certification and credentialing process. And it is sponsored by our Academy of Creative Coaching Coach Training Program. Our president is Dr. Pamela Larde, and Dr. Pamela Larde had the wonderful, wonderful foresight to start a coach training program. She actually attended another coach training program several years ago, and one of the things that she discovered that was missing in that coach training program is, well, actually a few things. So she wanted more information around the business side of coaching. So certainly she got the core competencies, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but she felt like partly what was missing is the business aspect of starting your own coaching practice and also the cultural competency pieces. And so she decided not to complain, but to go ahead and start our own coach training program, and we are so grateful that she did. Dr. Larde initiated the launch of the Academy of Creative Coaching, along with a colleague of hers, which I'll show you her in just a moment. Her vision for our academy is to offer a life-changing certification program that not only trains, as I talked about just a second ago, but also transforms. And what we hear consistently from our graduates is that they certainly expected high-quality training. They expected to cover the coaching core competencies. They expected to learn a lot in the class, in the program. But what they did not expect is how much transformation work happens at the same time. And so I'll be sharing a few of their testimonials a little later. So Dr. Pamela Larde had a co-founder, or has a co-founder, because she's still with our organization as well, Dr. Sani, as we call her. So Dr. Sani Shepard is the co-founder, and she's also a CIO, Chief Information Officer, and our Chief Operating Officer, which those of you who have already reached out to us to learn more about our coach training programs have most likely talked to this gentleman, Jay Hurt. Jay Hurt is a certified professional coach and also, like I said, serves as our COO. Next one is me. I'm Sophia Casey. I'm a professional certified coach, and we'll talk a little bit about what do these acronyms all mean. Besides being a member of the faculty and teaching some of the programs, I also serve as Director of Faculty Training and Development, which I absolutely love. And then our last member of our leadership team is Lee Ashby Watts. And Lee is a marketing expert. I wish I had a stronger word than expert to describe the amazing job that she does in terms of teaching our coaches and our students about the importance of marketing and actually having them come out of our program, out of one of our programs called the PCC program, being very, very clear on their marketing strategy. And so that's our leadership team. And if you visit our website, you'll get to see certainly the bios for our leadership team, but also the rest of our team. We have a very big team, and we are very fortunate to have such a diverse group working with the Academy of Creative Coaching. Also, when you visit our website, you'll also learn about our initiative called Coaching Through COVID. And I highlight this one because I'm really, really proud. We are really proud of this initiative. Coaching Through COVID is an initiative that we started, I guess it's now about 6 months ago, in response to all that was going on across the world. And so what we found time and time and time again is that people were reaching out to our company asking for support, asking if we could match them up with another coach or with a coach so that they could be supported around all the changes that were happening in their lives due to COVID. And so I'm so happy to say that we actually met the call and created this initiative. And through this initiative, you actually can work with a coach, 3 sessions. You get 3 sessions with a certified coach who's a graduate of our program. And those 3 sessions are at no cost to you. So we're very, very proud of this program. So if you're interested in this, I really encourage you to visit our website, the Academy of Creative Coaching. So academyofcreativecoaching.com, and learn more about our Coaching Through COVID initiative or program. If you have any questions now as I go through the webinar today, by all means, please put your questions in the chat box and I'll do my best to get to them as soon as I possibly can. Okay. All right, so our agenda today, we're going to cover a few things. I'm going to talk a little bit about understanding professional coaching. What is coaching? The coaching profession is still relatively young, so there's still some questions out there in terms of like exactly what is coaching and what is coaching not. And then we're going to move into a conversation around getting certified and how do you do that, or what is one way that you can get certified? And then what is the difference between certification and ICF credentialing? So sometimes in the industry, the terminology gets confused. What is the difference between certification and credentialing? So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our coach training school, the Academy of Creative Coaching. And I'll share more about our training programs. And then I'm going to invite you to take on some next steps. I wouldn't be a coach if I didn't invite you to take some actions. So I'm going to invite you to take some actions a little later. Okay. So understanding professional coaching. What does it involve and what does it not involve? The definition of professional coaching, we say, a coach is an expert empowering people and organizations to strengthen commitment to their vision. From these commitments come actions that produce powerful results. So that is the work that we do as coaches. The International Coach Federation says that coaching is partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and their professional potential. And you notice that I highlighted some key words in that definition, partnering, because that truly is what it is. It's a partnership, a collaboration, versus a consultant that tells people what to do or makes recommendations. As a coach, I don't do that. I partner with my client. And you notice that I also highlighted the word creative. And that is really, really important because in the coaching process, I am supporting the client around coming up with creative ways, naturally creative ways to actually fulfill upon their goals. And then I also highlighted personal and professional potential because as a coach, yes, the client may come to me wanting to work on specifically professional goals. Let's say that, professional goals, maybe a goal around their career. But in those coaching conversations, what tends to happen is that the conversation will also include personal goals as well. And so as a coach, going through our coach training program, you actually would be trained in a way that you can support a client around personal and professional goals as well. I want to distinguish between 3 different professional development areas. And the reason that we distinguish between these 3 and the reason that the International Coach Federation distinguishes between these 3 is because oftentimes these are the 3 that are most confused. Okay, so sometimes coaching gets confused with mentoring as well and some other professions, but these are the 3 that are most confused in the industry. So therapy, oftentimes therapy is confused with coaching, and it is very, very different. Therapy involves an expert diagnosis, and usually the therapist is then going to treat their client or their patient. Okay. As a coach, I'm actually not diagnosing anyone. I'm not diagnosing the client. I may use some analytical skills, but I'm not diagnosing the client. Also, as a coach, I'm actually not treating my client. Okay. Because there's nothing to treat, okay? As a consultant, so the second one is consulting. Consultants resolve organizational problems using their knowledge and data to propose solutions. So besides being an executive life coach, I'm proud of that work, I'm also a corporate trainer. So I wear a different hat. So as a corporate trainer, I am a consultant. Companies hire me to come into their organization, do some type of needs assessment to find out what the organizational problems are that exist. Then I use my expertise, my knowledge to actually propose some type of solution or recommendation to the organization. As a coach, I'm actually not an expert of the client's life. And so I'm actually not using my knowledge and the information that I get from the client to necessarily tell them the solution. Okay. I may make suggestions in our relationship, but I am not actually making those suggestions and being wedded to them actually adopting my solution. So I'm not consulting. Our profession as coaches involves a relationship, like I said earlier, of partnership and collaboration, where I, as the coach, am equal to the client. So as coaches, we are equal to our clients, and we relate to our clients as naturally creative, naturally resourceful. They can actually come up with their answers, and they're naturally whole. There's nothing broken. Okay. Any questions thus far? Okay, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat box for us. Thank you so much. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about getting certified. What does that mean, and what is the process for actually getting certified? So I'm actually going to have this conversation through the lens of the International Coach Federation. I understand that there are several organizations that say they provide certification, but for the purposes of our conversation today, I'm actually going to have this conversation, like I said, through the lens or the filter of what the International Coach Federation says and how they describe certification and credentialing. And the reason that the International Coach Federation came about is because there was a need or a desire to answer a call around the integrity of the coaching profession. Because the International Coach Federation is in place as a governing body, I have it that it actually has increased the integrity of the coaching profession. So as it stands now, anyone can dub themselves as a coach. You actually don't have to go through coach certification. You do not have to become a credentialed coach. And if you decide one day you wake up, you decide that you want to be a coach, you actually can declare yourself as a coach and start your business. And so because there wasn't much governance around our coaching profession, the International Coach Federation did actually put some of that in place. So the ICF preserves the integrity of coaching through internationally accepted professional standards. So the ICF actually developed very clear ethical guidelines and professional standards. Today, the ICF is specifically recognized among coaching professionals worldwide, and this is truly an international organization. So ICF is recognized for developing coaching core competencies. Okay, what are the key skills that I need to have as a coach so that I am most effective and most supportive of my client? Also, establishing a professional code of ethics and standards, as I mentioned before. So the ICF has its own ICF code of ethics that as a certified and credentialed coach, I adhere to, and also created professional standards. The ICF also created an internationally recognized credentialing program. So they are a governing body that can actually give you a credential, okay? most or many coach training programs say that, oh, you work with us, certainly we can credential you. And actually, that's not true. The International Coach Federation is the only governing body that can actually credential you and give you their ICF credential. Also, setting guidelines through accreditation for coach-specific training programs. So we here at the Academy of Creative Coaching, we are an ICF accredited coach training program, and we are super proud of that because it is a rigorous process to actually become an accredited coach training program, and I'll talk a little bit about that in just a bit. And so the ICF set those guidelines for what does it mean to be accredited and what types of things need to be in place for the coach specific training program to be considered ICF accredited. And then finally, the ICF certainly is recognized for providing focused discussions through communities of practice. That has been one of the biggest highlights for me as a coach. I've been a coach for a very long time and always been a coach through the ICF and been a credential coach for a very long time. And I will say that is one of the best supports for me. And I hear it also from all of the coaches that I mentor as well. Being in a community of practice has been extremely, extremely supportive of our coaching businesses. I want to talk a little bit about the different designations from the ICF, just to put some terminology in for you. Okay, so the first designation is ACSTH, Approved Coach Specific Training Hours. ACSTH programs offer training but are not required to offer 125-hour training programs. In other words, you could have a coach training school that says, yes, I am an ICF coach training school. And they would be telling the truth so long as they follow the ICF guidelines, which I'll talk about in just a minute, okay? Student contact hours offered by this type of program can vary from one course. So you can have a coach training school that only offers one class, and they could be considered an ICF school, okay? Or all the way up to offering 125 hours of coach training, as our school does, okay? So as you look for a coach training program, we certainly hope that you will choose ours, but as you look for coach training programs and you're doing your research, you want to pay attention to what type of accreditation or what type of designation do they have, okay? Are they an ACSTH school? And if they are, that means certainly they can offer coach training, okay? But there are limitations to what they can offer and how they offer it. Then there's a second designation, ACTP, and that's what we are. And we're very proud to be able to say that we are an ICF accredited coach training program. An ACTP program is required to offer start to finish coach training covering the ICF core competencies, the ICF code of ethics, be in alignment with the ICF definition of coaching, also cover mentor coaching and observe coaching sessions, okay? So where the mentor coaches are actually observing the coaching happening, okay, that the students are doing, and also finally a final exam. And so that's what we are. We are an accredited coach training program. And like I said, the process to become an ICF accredited coach training program is a very rigorous one, and we're very proud that we actually met the mark. And then the third and last designation is CCEs. And so many of you have gone through university programs, college programs, you've been in school, you're in school, and so you're probably familiar with the terminology continuing education units, CEUs. This is the coaching profession's equivalent of that. So continuing coaching education are courses that serve as advanced training for those wishing to acquire new learning and or those who are renewing their ICF credential. ICF credentialed coaches renew their credentials every 3 years, requiring up to requiring 40 hours or more of CCEs, okay? So once I became a credential coach, yes, I was very excited. And at the same time, I am being held responsible for renewing that credential with the ICF every 3 years. And I think it really speaks to the ICF's integrity and to their commitment to our coaching profession. So now I'm going to share a little bit about the certification to ICF credentialing process. Okay, so how do you go from being a certified coach to actually then being a credential coach? Excuse me. And as I just shared before, there are several designations for coach training programs. There are also several different paths that you can take to actually go from being a certified coach or getting your coaching certification, getting your coaching certification, and then going even further to then becoming a credentialed coach, okay? And so if you want more information about those paths and the details around them, I really encourage you to visit the ICF website, which is coachfederation.org, coachfederation.org. Okay, so there are 3 paths. I won't go into a lot of detail here on this slide, but I will talk about it more in just a moment. There is the ACTP path, and we just talked about ACTP and what that stood for, Accredited Coach Training Program, and that's what we are. You also could pursue your certification or credential through the ACSTH path, which we just talked about as well. And then there's a 3rd path called the portfolio path. Okay. There are 3 levels of credentials. There's the ACC level. The next level up is the professional certified coach level, and that's where I sit. And then the top tier credential is called the master certified coach, the MCC. So there's the ACC level, which stands for associate certified coach. So that's the first level of credential that you can get. Now, I want to be clear, you don't necessarily have to start at the ACC credential level and then go to the PCC level credential. You actually could go directly to the PCC credential if you have the requirements fulfilled. But for the sake of this conversation today, let's just talk about it as if it's a linear process, okay? So for the ACC credential, the Associate Certified Coach credential, you must have completed 60 hours of ICF ACTP training program requirements, okay? So that means you must have attended an ACTP program and fulfilled on the requirement to attend 60 hours of training. And our coach training program actually offers that, 60 hours of coach training. So we're very happy about that. So we provide this. And we have weekend intensives and different programs to where you can actually acquire that 60 hours of coach training. And I'm going to explain some of our programs in just a bit. So number 2, you must complete 100 hours of coaching experience. In other words, you must have coached clients up to at least 100 hours, okay? Of those 100 hours, 70 of them must be paid, where the client actually paid for your services as a coach. The other 30 hours can be pro bono, which means you did not charge the client your coaching rate, okay? So it was no charge to the client. Like our Coaching Through COVID initiative, our program, Coaching Through COVID, those clients are not paying for 3 sessions, okay? Number 3, you must have at least 8 clients, and the clock starts when you first start your first day of coach training. Okay, from that day, we start the clock. From that day forward, you must have worked with at least, you can certainly work with more clients than that, but the ICF says you must have worked with at least 8 clients to actually acquire those 100 hours. Okay, are you all tracking with me? If somebody will just say, if you'll say yes, If you'll say yes in the chat box, that lets me know you can still hear me okay, and you're still tracking with me, so I don't get too far ahead. Okay. All right. Okay, great, great, great. I see lots of yeses. Okay, great, 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 great. All right, so now my number 4. You must have at least 25 of the 100 hours must occur within 2 years prior to you submitting your application. Okay, so you must have at least 25 of your hours, okay, your coaching hours of the 100 hours must occur within the 24 months prior to submitting the application for credential. In other words, they don't want you waiting like, you know, longer than 2 years to actually submit your application. They want you, they're giving you a time frame, a timeline for you to submit your application, everything that's needed with your application, all your coach training, your coaching that you're doing with clients, your 100 hours, all of that process must happen within 24 hours. Okay. Number 5. 10 hours of work with a qualified mentor coach. So besides making sure that you get the coach training, making sure that you actually coach clients, making sure that you have at least 8 clients that you're working with or that you've worked with, and making sure that the 25 hours is within that certain time frame, you also must work with a mentor coach for a minimum of 10 hours. You certainly can work with a mentor coach longer than that, but a minimum of 10 hours. The wonderful thing about our coach training programs is that we actually pair you up with a mentor coach. You're actually paired up with a mentor coach as like literally day one when you enter our programs. And in most of our programs, 7 of the 10 hours that you are required to work with a mentor coach, you actually cover those 7 hours as you go through our coach training program. So it's a win-win right there, okay? So you don't have to go through our coach training program, graduate from our program, and then go hire a mentor coach to work with. We actually pair you up with a mentor coach. Isn't that awesome? I just thought that was just icing on the cake, okay? Then number 6, you also must pass the coach knowledge assessment. Okay, you must pass the CKA, which is a test that is assessing your ability to coach. It's looking at your knowledge around the core competencies, the ICF Code of Ethics, professional standards. And these are all things that we teach in our coach training program. And then lastly, you submit your application fee, which right now is $100 if you're an ICF member, or $300 if you're not a non-member. I strongly encourage you, if you've even thought about it once, to go ahead and join the ICF. Okay, you can actually join the ICF before you actually go through and graduate from coach training, the coach training program. Okay, so that was the first level, ACC. Okay. All right, next level, and that's the level that I am at right now, is the PCC credential, the Professional Certified Coach credential. And you'll notice that a lot of the requirements are similar. A lot of them are similar, but where things change is around how much coach training you have to have and how many hours of coaching clients you have to have, how many clients you have to have. So I'm gonna walk through one at a time. So first, number 1, you must complete 125 hours of coach training. So remember, for the ACC credential, you only had to complete 60 hours, okay? At the PCC level, the ICF wants to make sure that you've received an additional 65 hours. Is that right? I think that's right. Yeah, 65 hours of training. So for a total of 125 hours of training. Number 2, you must have a minimum. You certainly can have more, but you must have a minimum of 500 hours. 440 of those hours must be paid, where a client actually paid for your services. In our coach training program, we actually support you around like what could that look like, okay? So 440 hours must be paid, and 60 of the hours, it's okay if those are pro bono, where you did not charge the client your rate. Number 3, you must have worked with a minimum of 25 clients, okay? A minimum of 25 clients following the start of your coach specific training. So remember I said the clock starts the day you come into our coach training program. Day 1, you can actually start the clock right then and there, okay? And so as you're getting clients, you're tracking how many clients you have, you're tracking how many hours you coach the client, okay? So you must have a minimum of 25 clients. Number 4, you must have at least 50 of the hours occur within 24 months, okay, of you submitting your application for your credential. Okay. Number 5, 10 hours of work with a qualified mentor coach. And what does it mean to be a qualified mentor coach? It means that the coach must be ICF credentialed. Number 6, you again must pass the coach knowledge assessment, the CKA. Okay. And number 7, you must submit your application fee. It's $300 for ICF members and then $500 for non-members. So there are some perks. There are actually lots of perks to being an ICF member, but this is one of them. And then finally, the third level of credentialing is the path that I'm actually on now. I am working on getting my MCC credential. Number 1, you must complete 200 hours of coach training. And we actually provide this as well, okay? We provide training to support you towards that 200 hours of required coach-specific training. Number 2, you must have a minimum of 2,500 hours. Big jump, right? Big jump. I hear coaches say that all the time, like, my goodness, what a huge jump. So yes, you went from, at the PCC level, being required to have at least 500 hours of coaching experience. Now it's jumped to 2,500 hours. 2,200 hours of that 2,500 must be paid, where a client actually paid you for your coaching services. And of course, oh, I just realized we don't have the pro bono number there. Sorry about that. And 300 of those hours certainly can be pro bono. Okay. At least, and you must have a minimum of at least 35 clients. So 35 clients following the start of your coach specific training. And you have to submit a performance evaluation. So they're going to actually evaluate my coaching competency. Okay, so that's a performance evaluation where I would submit 2 audio recordings and written transcripts of those 2 audio recordings. And then the ICF has assessors on their staff who will actually review and evaluate my effectiveness as a coach. Number 5, I must work with, as if I'm pursuing this MCC credential, I must work with a mentor coach also for 10 hours. And there must be an ICF credential coach. Number 6, I must pass the coach knowledge assessment. And number 7, there's an application fee at the MCC level as well, $575 for ICF members, $775 for non-members. Okay. Any questions you have so far before we go on further? And we have just a little short of, probably about 24 more minutes to go. Okay. And I'll make sure I leave time at the end for any questions that you have. So now I'm going to share a little bit more about our academy, the Academy of Creative Coaching, and our coach training. And give me a second, I'm just going to check in. I know I have a couple of questions. I'm just going to pause for a moment. Okay, so I got one question that says, is the ACC a credential program, even though it says Associate Certified Coach? Yes, the ACC is a credential level. So you have 3 levels of credential, and thank you so much for the question. You have 3 levels of credential. The first level is ACC, next level is PCC, and the top level is MCC. Okay, and it stands for Associate Certified Coach. ACC stands for Associate Certified Coach. I know sometimes it gets a little confusing because our acronym for our company is also ACC, the Academy of Creative Coaching. So thank you so much for the question. All right, let's see what else. I think I have a few more questions. Give me just a moment. All right, next question. Let's see. Okay, if I have a master's in social work, is it okay to utilize some of the training that I received in my program, or should I utilize only the skills learned through the academy? That is an excellent question, excellent question. And so the ICF is committed to not having you repeat anything. So if you've already gone through some type of training program, some type of school, and you actually received coach training, so some type of training that meets the core competencies, that's what the ICF is going to look at. The ICF may actually count that time, that training, which would be really good for you, because then the clock, remember I kept talking about the clock starts the first day of training. So if you've already taken some training, like one example is John Maxwell training. So a lot of coaches that come through our coach training program have gone through a John Maxwell type of training. And so the ICF will look at your coursework, okay, the coursework, the description of your courses, your coursework, the objectives of that course, what was involved in that course. And then they will make a determination of whether or not that course actually provided instruction around the ICF core competency areas, the code of ethics, professional standards, that sort of thing. So I hope that answers your question. I encourage you, if you have had other training, that when you get ready to submit your application to the ICF, you can actually contact the ICF, share with them information about your training program that you went through, and they are happy to actually take a look at it to see if it actually counts towards your credential or towards the requirement for you to have coach-specific training as a requirement of your credential. You guys have the best questions. Thank you so much. Okay, next question is, oh, great question. Do you have to take the CKA multiple times? No, you do not. You take it once, you pass it, you are good to go. You are good to go. So let's say you actually apply and receive your ACC level credential, the first level, your Associate Certified Coach credential. And then you decide, well, I've been coaching more. I want to pursue the next level credential, the PCC level credential. Do I have to take that assessment test again? And the answer is no, you do not. You do not have to take it again. Isn't that great? At least that's how it stands right now. You do not have to take it again, okay? You just have to go through the process of renewing your credential. To get the, I'm sorry, not renewing your credential, go through the process of getting the next level credential, okay? Do you offer business coaching specific training? Great question. So yes, so we definitely cover business, or the beginnings of business, starting your coaching business. We cover a bit of that in our first program, and I'm going to talk about our programs in just a moment. In our PCC level program, we have a PCC level program to support you towards preparing for your PCC credential with the ICF. In that program, we cover a lot of Business 101 in our curriculum, okay? Remember, I mentioned our instructor, Lee Ashby Watts. She is the person who handles a lot of that piece of our curriculum. And then our instructors, like myself, we handle a lot of it as well. Okay, so yes, you guys have the best questions. Please keep By all means, please keep sharing the questions. Give me just a moment. I'm going to just notate that I answered these. I love questions, by the way. You cannot ask me too many questions. Okay, we love questions. Absolutely. All right, good deal. Let me just double check that I got all of you. Okay, it says you said I answered your question. Good. Awesome. Okay. All right, great. And yes, and we got one more question. Do the program hours, the training program hours and coaching hours count that you get from the ACC level program and that process? Does all of that count towards the PCC credential? And the answer is yes, it does. You don't have to start over. Okay, you do not have to start over. So let's say you have your ACC, your Associate Certified Coach credential, and now it's been a little while, you're like, well, now I want to pursue my PCC credential. The ICF actually counts all the work that you've done prior to pursuing your PCC credential, your second level credential. So you do not have to start over. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. I would be in a lot of trouble if we did. Okay. So like I said earlier, I'm going for my MCC credential. So all of the coaching hours that I had, all of my coach training, all of that will count towards my MCC credential. I'm so grateful for that. All right, so next, please, by all means, please keep putting your questions there. You can ask them in the Q&A section, or you can ask them in the chat. Okay. About the Academy of Creative Coaching. So now I'm going to share a little bit more in detail about our academy and what you have to look forward to in terms of our coach training programs. So our academy is built on 4 pillars of creative change. Dr. Pamela Larde is actually a researcher, and she loves this work. She loves this work. And so when she and Dr. Soni created this academy, they built it on 4 pillars, if you will. The first is the creative approach. And that involves looking at what solutions and strategies are at the core of creating purposeful movements toward change in organizations, individually, and also in society. Okay. Positive psychology. How do we motivate ourselves and others to draw upon our strengths to enable creative change in organizations, individuals, and society? So you can imagine the creative approach and positive psychology, those being coupled together, looking at key strategies that we would use to support a client in moving forward, okay, around their goals, and actually tapping into what we know about positive psychology and motivation, and how motivation and inspiration plays a part in people, our clients, actually moving forward in a creative process in terms of fulfilling upon their goals. So I'm very, very happy that both of these are 2 of our pillars in terms of the work that we do at the Academy of Creative Coaching. And then thirdly, cultural competence. I will say this 3rd pillar actually sets us apart from thousands upon thousands of coach training programs. And I'm so grateful that Dr. Pamela Larde had the foresight to include a cultural competency component as one of the pillars of our curriculum. So there we're thinking about, how do we honor the dignity of ourselves and the dignity of others so that we can build partnerships that create change in organizations, build partnerships to support our clients in creating change, and also building partnerships so that changes can actually occur in society as well. And especially with all that's going on in the world, that 3rd pillar has become most important. And so we're very proud to say that many of our graduates go on to support organizations, their communities, around cultural competency. And then lastly, to your question that you asked earlier, thank you for the question, business development. So what tools and resources are in place that position us with power and influence so that we are able to then go and create change in organizations, with individuals and in society. And so a number of our graduates, besides just working with clients one-on-one, they also have taken their coaching skills into organizations. And I do a lot of that work too. I do a lot of executive coaching, life coaching in organizations. And it's because of the strength of my coach specific training. Okay, so those are our 4 pillars. And then this slide, if you'd like to take a picture of this, you're more than welcome to. It just describes it in a little bit more detail. And you can also find this information on our homepage of our website as well. Okay. Our curriculum is rooted, I'll say, rooted in 6 modules, okay? And I'll walk through this a little bit more in detail in just a bit. So the first module is Coaching Foundation. With that module, that's exactly what we're focused on, giving you the foundational support around coaching. In that module, we cover what is coaching and what is coaching not, okay? What coaching is and what coaching is not. We cover the ICF core competencies in a lot of detail, okay? How do you actually establish or build rapport with a client, okay? What ethical guidelines do you need to make sure that you cover when you start working with a client? What are some professional standards that you want to make sure are in place? What do you actually work on in the coaching session with the client? Okay, so really giving you a lot of information, a lot of content, and an enormous amount of practice, most importantly, practice around the coaching foundations. Our second module, relationship building, is just that. What are some key ways or key strategies that you can build relationship with your client? What are some key best practices that you may want to consider following to actually have clients or prospective clients want to work with you? How can you do that relationship building and build rapport even before they hire you? Okay, so we cover that module. And then module 3 is effective communication. What are some best practices and key strategies for having crucial conversations? If you're going into an organization, how can you support that organization through coaching around resolving conflict? Module 4 covers the coaching techniques 1, and then module 5 covers coaching techniques 2. So there we dive even more around the coaching core competencies, making sure that you have that foundation underneath you. And then lastly, business development, as I talked about before. The cultural competency pieces, also talking in some of our programs, we cover a little bit around post-traumatic or trauma and post-traumatic stress. Some of that happens in those middle modules. Okay, I just wanted to highlight that. Our program features, as I mentioned before, our programs either cover 60 hours of coach-specific training or 125 hours, and I'll go into a little bit more detail in just a moment. It includes independent study hours. So besides getting the coach-specific training in class, getting that in-class work done, we also include, as a part of our curriculum, one independent study course that includes 6 modules. So we relate to the independent study coursework as an extension of the work that you do in the classroom. Okay, so there's homework practices. This is as you're completing your independent study, you're also working with your mentor coach. And so that's a part of it as well. So then the third bullet, practice coaching. You will have tons of opportunities to practice coach. What I saw, and Dr. Larde saw also in some of the coach training programs that we were privy to, is that there were not a lot of opportunities for students to actually practice coaching. And so we are big sticklers that our students get the opportunity to do so. And then lastly, like I mentioned earlier, is mentor coaching. Okay, mentor coaching. I think that is, I mean, I love our entire curriculum, but that right there is so key. I've been a mentor coach for a very long time now, and what I hear consistently from graduates and from new coaches is that the mentor coaching relationship is one of the most supportive pieces of them being successful coaches. And so we're very proud that we actually have very, very well trained mentor coaches. Our mentor coaches are experts in the coaching field by far, by far. Okay, let's see. I have another question. Let's see. Okay, great. So the question is, I'd like to become a business coach. Do you offer a program to help me do that? Great question. The answer in short is yes. So when you come into our coach training program, before you actually start your coach training, we ask that you select a specialization area. And so you would select business coaching. And there are several areas which I'll share with you in just a moment. So we ask that you select a specialty area, a specialization. And then what we do is we provide you resources around that specialization. You would work with your mentor coach around that specific specialization as well. And so the answer in short is yes, we absolutely do. Okay. Speaking of which, that was the perfect question to lead into this. So these are our specialization areas. And if you go on our website, we actually have these listed. And we encourage you to fill out an application. An application doesn't obligate you to necessarily go through our coach training programs, but it does give us your information. It allows you to keep in contact with us. It allows us to also send you our monthly newsletter, which is packed full of great resources, information, things about the initiatives that are underway with our coach training school, but also it just keeps you inside of a coaching community. So we encourage you to go ahead and fill out the application and give us information about you so we can stay in contact. So here are some of the specialization areas that we offer through our coach training program. Spiritual coach, creative arts coach, executive school leadership coach, relationship coach, health and wellness coach, executive coach, that's the work that I do, educational success coach, life coach, that's the other work that I do, cultural competency coach. And Dr. Larde had the foresight also to say, well, wait a minute, maybe there's a specialization that we haven't listed here that would be supportive of you. And so you have the opportunity to create your own specialization where you actually initiate it, and through course assignments, textbooks, mentor coaching, like I said earlier, and also many opportunities to practice coach in your specialization area, then you can be fully supported around that area. Okay. I hope that answers your question. If not, please ask me another one. Okay, I got some more questions. I'm going to just check in, and then we're going to start to wrap up. Let's see here. Okay, we got that question about the business coach. Okay, great question. Yes, so the question is, what is the difference between a certified versus a credential coach? That is such a great question. And the second part to that is, are the training programs different for these two paths? So without going into a whole lot of like very, very, very detailed explanations around that, what I'll say in a nutshell is, being certified means you've gone through a coach training program. You've gone through a coach training program. You've reached or met, all the requirements for that coach training program. Credential, on the other hand, a credential coach means that you have actually applied to the International Coach Federation and been awarded a credential because of all the work that you did to become a certified coach. Does that make sense? Does that help a bit? Please let me know in the chat. Okay, so the first step is certainly becoming a certified coach, but then our coaches, can you imagine, coaches want to go even further and become a credential coach. I will tell you, for me personally, there have been lots of benefits of me going further than just getting my coaching certification, and I'll actually becoming a credential coach. One of the benefits is that I've been able to work in federal government, state government, and local government companies and organizations, I should say, where those organizations, and also private sector companies as well, where those organizations have required that the coach that they hire be an ICF credentialed coach. And now that's starting to happen more and more across the industry. Companies, organizations, the government organizations are not just looking for certified coaches, they're looking for ICF credentialed coaches. And so that is the difference. The ICF is the only governing body that can provide you with a credential. Now, some of my colleagues may argue with that because there were a couple other organizations that popped up here and there. But for the most part, the ICF is the only credentialing organization. So please let me know if that answered your question. I hope it did. Okay. All right, we're on the home stretch here. So now I want to share just briefly about our coach training programs, because I know you're excited and you're thinking about, like, yes, I'm ready to go ahead and register for the coach training programs. Okay, we have one program that is completely self-paced. Our self-paced program is a certification-only program. In other words, you, at the end of this process, you will be a certified coach. However, you haven't necessarily fulfilled all of the requirements to then go apply for your ICF credential. So it's a self-paced, the self-paced design is a certification only program. It's ideal for coaches and other professionals who seek training or professional development, but need to take courses at their own pace and at their own schedule. Okay. All right. Next one is our all online program. So with this design, students meet online for all classes on Tuesday evenings from 7 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern, I think it is. And no, I'm sorry, it's 7 to 9 p.m. It's 7 to 9:30 p.m. Let me say that. And Saturday mornings from 9 until 11. Okay. And we offer those throughout the year. And of course, with the self-paced design, you can attend and register throughout the year. Okay. And then our last program design is called the Weekend Intensive Design. I actually do a lot of instruction and actually I work in all of our programs, but I do a lot of, we have a lot of weekend intensive programs happening now. And so there the students meet in a face-to-face classroom setting for 4 consecutive days, okay? So the key word in that title, Weekend Intensive Design, is intensive. It is a very intensive program because what we've done is we've taken several months of curriculum and we've condensed it into 4 days. And we found that a lot of coaches really like this program because they can get certified in a short amount of time. And at the same time, they are aware that it is intensive, okay? And the same thing applies. You're getting the coaching practice, you're following the same curriculum, you're getting the ICF core competencies, etc. Okay, so those are our 3 programs, and I encourage you to visit our website to find out more about them. So coaching as a professional development, I just want to put in just this one shameless plug for us that by you being a certified coach and then going on to become a credential coach, it could open up so many more doors for you. So as I spoke about before, many of our graduates have gone on to either go back into their organizations as coaches or become full-time coaches and consultants and end up working with government and private sector companies and supporting those organizations around leadership development. for current leaders and aspiring leaders. We're also very proud that we are now also SHRM certified. So we're a SHRM certified provider where we can provide HR continuing education units. We're very proud of that. Okay, so that's a recent designation for us. So you can imagine taking your core competency skills, your coaching skills into organizations and supporting them, like law enforcement, universities, colleges, athletic organizations, hospitals. We are so proud to say that our graduates have gone on to work in many different types of public and private sector companies. And now we're being called on more and more and more to support organizations around diversity, equity, and inclusion, conflict management, agile coaching, and certainly, like I said before, human resources management. I just wanted to start to wrap up and share just some wonderful testimonials, because I feel like our students say it best. And we encourage you that if you're on the fence and you're not really sure and you have you want to actually talk to one of our graduates, we're happy to connect you with our graduates. So I just want to read just a few comments that have been said by our students. So one student said, everyone was patient and honest and open and genuine. This helped me grow as a person who does not only who actually doesn't even coach in my work life. The entire team was encouraging, brilliant, and real. And then that coach had a whole bunch of exclamation points. So I imagine that they were really feeling very good about the coach training program that they had just experienced. Another student said, thank you for opening new possibilities in my journey. And we hear that consistently. I'm like literally all the time, okay? And then lastly, a student said, or a graduate said, this has been the most valuable part, which was creating a safe space for us to learn, to share, and to grow. It made it easy for us to relax and lean into practicing our newly acquired skills. And we were not judged whether we did it in a right way or a wrong way. Okay, and we constantly hear from our graduates that we create an environment that's supportive. It's a supportive and safe and sacred space where you get an opportunity to practice your coaching. All right, do I have any more questions? You guys have been great, giving me such great questions throughout. And it looks like I did address all of them. But by all means, if you have any other questions, I invite you to reach out to us. Our website, again, is academyofcreativecoaching.com. academyofcreativecoaching.com. And I look forward to seeing you all in class. Thanks for being here.